Hi everyone, Linda Israel here, and today we're going to make a giant journal page. We're going to use some mixed media pages that I pre-made. We're going to use some elements from the Daydreaming Creative Kit, as well as some rubber stamps and just scraps of paper. So let's get started here. Okay, right off the bat, I have an oversized dictionary page that comes part of the Daydreaming Creative Kit, and it's larger than 8.5 by 11, and that's the size that I need it to be. So the first thing I'm going to do is trim this page down. I'm going to trim it down to, let's do this first. I'm going to trim it down to 11 inches long. And then I'm going to trim it down to 8.5 inches wide. I'm going to refold it because it was folded in order for it to fit into the kit. Now, I want to tell y'all that as I am making a tutorial here and I'm showing you how to make a page, I want you to look at your items in your stash and see how you can make this your own. And know that the elements that I'm sharing today are part of the Daydreaming Kit, and I hope that you'll enjoy this video and be inspired by it. Please give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And also remember that when this video is on YouTube, you can go down below and click on the gear and change the speed to 2 times the speed. All right, so now that I've got this page, so that's an element that's in the kit. I've also cut out one of the belly bands that's in the kit, and I've also cut out the fussy cut items as well as some journal cards. But let's kind of get this put together here so you can see what we need to do. Okay, so here is my page, and what I like to do really briefly is take my Distress Ink Walnut stain or your other favorite that you have and just indicate where the center mark is so that when I unfold it I can see the center, and I'll do that on both sides. So now I know where the center mark is, and prior to the video, and I have other videos that shows you how to make these mixed media pages. I made these pages. It was a Bible page that I took acrylic paint and I used what I call a gift card, a key card, a hotel key card, something like that. And I scraped the paint across here and I made pages. And I've had a lot of people ask me, well, what do you do with these pages? Well, I'm going to show you what we're going to do. So what I found is this particular page just so happens to fit on my journal page that I'm going to make. So I'm going to go around the edges with Distress Ink really fast. And then I'm going to adhere it to the page. This will help give the dictionary page a little bit more strength. So if you're ever worried that your page is too thin and it might tear, when you start gluing other pages on top, then it'll give it some more strength. So I'm just going to go all the way around, just giving a little bit perimeter of glue. I do plan to sew on this, so I don't need a lot of glue, but I want to make sure that it is going to be adhered to the page. And then I'm just smoothing it out, gluing it down to the page. On the other side of the page over here, I just happen to have one of those 4x6 pages that you tear out of a little booklet. You may have something else. You could use another one of these mixed media pages. I wanted to show a variety that could be done here. Again, I'm going to go around the edges with the Distress Ink. And I'm going to adhere this one down, but this time I'm going to move it closer to the top, and I want to make sure that I'm centered on this side of the page. I'm going to put glue on the back side of it. And all right, before I glue this down, I'm going to go to my sewing machine and I'm going to stitch right across the top because I want this to be a hidden pocket. So let me take you to the sewing machine. So I'm just going to do a zigzag stitch right across here. I'm using standard sewing machine, standard needle, and a standard zigzag stitch, standard thread. Now that I have that sewn, I'm going to go ahead and grab my page, and I'm going to put this at the top of the page where I said I wanted it, and I'm going to sew down and around on this page. So I'm going to start here and go across the bottom and across back up to the top. When I get to the end, I like to just raise up my presser foot, rotate the paper, and then put it back down, and that gives a nice corner. I'm going to go ahead and sew all the way around this blue side in the same fashion. So as you can see, I've sewn around both of those pieces, and I have that page portion started right now. So I'm going to set that aside for a moment. I cut some cardstock. I happen to have a couple of scraps of paper laying on my desk. I'm grabbing a ruler here. And I wanted to try to use them. I thought the bright colors would be kind of pretty. So I cut a piece of cardstock at 5 1/4 by 3 inches. And I also cut a strip of a gel print to 1 inch by the length of the gel print that it was. And then I have one of the fussy cut items. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to trim it to be the same length as the purple. So I'm just going to cut this off with my Fiskars scissors. I'm going to use my Distress ink and I'm going to go around all 3 of these pieces. While I'm at it, I have another piece of paper that was left over, and it measures 5 1/4 by 2 1/2 inches. And I know that I'm going to fold this one in half, and I'm going to add some Distress ink all the way around the edges of it. And this piece that I cut off earlier, I'm going to go ahead and put some Distress ink on this as well. So now I'm going to adhere these pieces together. First, I'm going to put this strip across the middle of this purple piece. And then I'm going to put the fold on my left-hand side. You could put it on your right. It's up to you. But I'm putting it on the side because I'm going to make this into an altered paper clip and I want the top portion open. I'm going to put this little piece of paper over here on this side and adhere it down. I'm going to take all these pieces and we're going to go to the sewing machine. So just one moment while we switch cameras. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to do a zigzag stitch right down the middle of this teal piece. I'm going on both sides. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go all the way around the perimeter. Now I'm going to take the fussy cut element piece, I'm going to put it right in the center and I'm going to sew it all the way around. You can glue this if it helps you keep it from moving around. Well, that piece has been completed. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew around this little teal piece. So that's been sewn around now. Now that I've got these pieces sewn, we can kind of move forward. This one is going to become a pocket on this side of the page. So I'm just going to take my Aleene's tacky glue and I'm going to adhere it to the page by going down the sides, across the bottom, and then back up the other side. I always put my thumb where I know I don't want to glue, so it reminds me not to glue it down. And then we'll put this right here and press it into place. Well, this is going to become an altered paper clip, but we need to create the element that's going to go on top. So let me move a couple things out of the way. And I've got a blank piece of paper here, and I've got the Beeline Designs butterfly. There's 2 different sizes that I have, the small and the medium. And I have a bundle in my shop that has 4 different stamps that you can pick up. So what I'm going to do is use my archival black ink, and we're going to stamp this on this piece of paper here. And then I'm going to stamp this little butterfly twice. Now, since I plan to watercolor on this and I just stamped it, you either need to let it dry or use a heat tool. And I'm going to use my heat tool to speed up the drying process. So now what I'm going to do is I've got some Tattered Angels Glimmer Mist. This is Purple Peacock that comes in my Purple Peacock paint kit that I have on my website. I'm going ahead and I'm shaking it up so that the mica is up into the liquid. You could spray this into a palette, but I'm just going to take my paintbrush and dip it down into the paint. And let me zoom in just a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go around the perimeter of the butterfly and basically loosely watercolor the image. I'm just kind of doing it where the lines are at the moment. I'm going to come back with another color, so I'm okay if I don't get all of this colored in. And I'll do the little ones while I'm at it. All right, then I'm going to clean out my paintbrush by dipping it in some water. And then I'll just wipe it off on a towel. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the pink. It's called peahen pink. And now I'm just going to go in and kind of fill in where there wasn't any paint. And it'll blend that purple together just a little bit. And I'll clean out my paintbrush again, and then I'm going to dry this, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so this has been dried, and you want to make sure it's thoroughly dried before you start cutting it up, because your paper will bend, and it's just not as easy to cut. So I'm going to take this cardstock and use my little Fisker scissors and just fussy cut these out. So there's the first one, and I'll go ahead and cut these others out as well off camera. But we want this one right now. So next what I'm going to do is take the Distress ink, and I'm going to go all the way around the edges. So it kind of gives it a vintage look. So now what I'm going to do is going to go back to this little square piece when it's folded, and we're going to adhere this butterfly on at a diagonal across here. So I'm just going to use my Aleene's tacky glue again and put some glue on. And then I've got a standard paper clip or large paper clip, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the little portion to the inside in the center. I get this centered up here. And then I'm going to take the glue and put it right down the center of the paper clip inside, around the outside of the paper clip, and then around the perimeter of the card. I'm going to fill this in just a little bit. And then I'm going to press this. And what I found is if I lay it on the table and press from the back, it keeps the front flat. And it's okay if the back side has a little bit of bumpiness to it. So now we have an altered paper clip. Isn't that neat? Kind of simple, using some scraps that we already had. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm using the journal lines stencil that I have in my shop, and I'm going to line it up onto the mixed media side, and I'm going to take the walnut stain distress ink, and I'm going to pick up some ink, and I'm just going to rub it across the stencil, and I may have to pick it up a few times to repeat it. And I'm okay if it's not super dark, or if it has some light areas and it's not super consistent. I just want the hint of journal lines on this piece of paper. I could also take a pen and use the stencil as a guide to draw lines. I could also use Tattered Angel's Glimmer Mist and spray through those. But since I was dealing with acrylic paint, I knew that the Glimmer Mist could resist. So what do you think? Just got some journal lines there. And then this is where the altered paper clip will go. And I already put some distress ink around this journal card that'll go in here. So let's flip this over and work on the other side. So on this side, what I'm going to do is I've got some washi tape. I'm going to put some across the top and the bottom. When you're putting washi tape down, don't pull it tight and stretch it. You just want to take it off the roll and then gently guide it across. Otherwise, if you have it too tight, your page will curl up. Have you ever had that problem? Well, you were pulling your washi tape too tight, and that is why it was doing that. So now I'm just going to cut off the excess, and I'm going to repeat this process on the top portion. I've got a few elements here that I want to use on this side of the page. So first, this is a belly band that's part of the Daydreaming kit, and I cut it the exact length that it comes in the kit. And then I took a piece of cardstock that's 11 inches by 1.5 inches. So it's just a little bit bigger than this piece. And I went ahead and I've added some distress inks around the edges of both of these pieces. So we're going to adhere these two together. And then I'm going to place it in the center, making sure I got it pretty even. And then I'll take this to the sewing machine in a moment. So we're going to do some other elements while we're sitting here. I'm going to go ahead and put some distress ink around this fussy cut element that's from the Daydreaming kit. And then I've got two 5x7 journal cards, and I'm going to go around the edges of both of these. I've got a strip of a gel print again. I'm going to trim it to be the same width as the journal card and cut off the excess. And I'm going to add some distress ink to it. I've got a little envelope that when I got these envelopes, some of them were sealed shut. So I've just been really careful about opening them up. Because, you know, we're trying to use up things that we have. I'm going to add some distress ink all the way around on this. And then this little piece that I cut off, I'm going to add some distress ink on it. And we're going to adhere those together in a moment. And then I've got these little die cut shapes or punched shapes. And then a couple of little pieces of gel prints. I'm going to add some distress inks to these as well. Okay, so now that I've got distress ink added to all of these elements, let's start putting them together. This is going to be a kind of a small tuck spot on this journal card, so I'm going to put it kind of across the corner here. So I'm going to put a little glue on these little areas that kind of stick out just a little bit. And this is going to get adhered down here. This is going to be adhered in the middle. Top, like so. I'll set that aside for a moment. This one's going to be adhered across the top of this journal card. Sometimes I like to leave a little space at the top, sometimes I don't. And then these are going to be adhered in the centers of both of these cards or pieces. And then we're going to move over to the sewing cam and we're going to do some sewing. Alright, so we're over here at the sewing machine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch down the sides of this belly band. And then I'm going to stitch around or across the top here and the bottom of this strip that is a gel print. On this journal card, what I'm going to do is alternate stitches. I think it'd be kind of interesting to have some zigzag and straight stitches. So I'll start with a zigzag, and then I'll change it to a straight stitch for a little bit. So we get variety that way. And then I'm going to sew around these little guys. So those are sewed around. We'll go back to the other camera view. Okay, so we got all of our little pieces put together now. So what we're going to do next is we're going to take the belly band, and I like to do this just because I think it's easier and it makes sure it gets set up right. I go ahead and fold it in half because I know this page is going to fold in half. And then what I'll do is I'll position this on my page and glue it down. So I'm going to put glue on the ends. I don't put glue in the center. I just put it on the ends. And then I will put this right here across the page. And you may need to hold it for a moment or press it or even set something heavy on top of it. Earlier, I fussy cut out the little butterflies and I applied some distress inks. And so now I'm going to adhere them in the center of each half of the page belly band. And then with these little pieces, because it's a belly band and I've got a big journaling card, I don't want it to slide all the way through. And I'm trying to use up all my little scraps and pieces. I'm going to put it across the bottom. So what I'm going to do is put adhesive just in this bottom portion just below the stitches. And we'll center it on the page at the bottom. And I'll do the same on this side. I want a saying or something on here. So I'm grabbing out of my box of sayings, and I do sell some in my shop, but you can always print some yourself. So I think what I want is, I've got amazing, and what else do we have here? Memories. Let's do amazing memories. So what I'm going to do is get my distress ink again and go around the edges, and this will kind of help marry all of this together. And we're going to glue, let's put memories on this side. So I'm just going to put a little bit of the glue on the back side. And let's push it, well, right in the corner here. And then this one, I think I want, let's put that in the middle. And then this journal card will slide into our belly band and catch on the bottom so it won't fall out. I took that little envelope and stuck it behind here. So you've got the back side of the journaling card. You can tuck some more things in there. and then this will slide over here on this side. And then if we flip this page over, our butterfly altered paper clip can go right here, and we can add even more underneath. Well, I hope you enjoyed seeing this take or an idea on using some of those mixed media pages, using rubber stamps, using some sewing machine, washi tape, scraps of paper to create a junk journal page. If you like this video, please let me know. Comment, give me a thumbs up, share it with your friends. Depending on where this video lands, let me know what you think of this. It's part of the junk journal retreat that I was doing for Just Penny, so it'll be published there first, and then later it'll be on my YouTube. So thanks again for watching. Check the description box for links to the products that I use. Do feel free to ask questions. Make sure that you check out my Facebook groups by Linda Israel and the Friendly Junk Journal Facebook group, so you can get some neat ideas and some specials that I'm offering, and etc. So thanks so much for watching everybody. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Bye.